Here, Luna. She's mad at me because I left her in her kennel to finish her nap while I started some stuff. So what we're doing today, and I probably won't be on very long. I just wanted to show you this. Um, we have this clutch mechanism that opens like that. They call them kissing locks or something. It's very pretty. It's kind of antique-y. I have this piece of tan bobcat hide, and I've cut it into roughly the shape that will match the top of that. Hang on, I have to spread it out right. I cut it roughly into the shape that will match the top of that, but it's got a little thing in it. Okay, roughly, it's got a little bend in the. So this will roughly match the shape of the lock where it needs to sew in. But because I want to try to line this, I have some regular leather that I've cut into the same shape. And I don't know if I want to put the suede inside or the other, probably the suede inside. I don't know. Anyway, I want to try to do the stitches and do an inside lining and turn it inside out so it'll be right way. And then put the lining in, have it separate. Then I can just tack the bottom to the bottom of the purse, and that way it'll push down in there better without being cumbersome into the hide itself. So I've got a piece of just regular leather, and then this is going to be the outer shell, which is again the bobcat fur. So that's what we're working on today. I also made a octopus, but I did spacing wrong on his tentacles. And so I'm making a second one to figure out my spacing issue that I had, which I think I know what I did. But the first one's cute, so I'm probably going to gift it to someone's kid. Let me show you what I made. Hang on. Oh, where did he go, George? Where did he go? Hello? There he is. Okay, so this is Drift the octopus, and so I made him today, but I got his tentacle spacing wrong. Now, for a kid that's going to just play with him, it's not a big deal. I did put safety eyes, so it'd have to be an older kid. This is also just basically barely above worsted weight yarn, so it's very small compared to what he would be in blanket yarn, but I was just trying to get to know the pattern. I love the curly legs. When you set him down, all his legs curl. And I think that's so cute. So I made the octopus, and honestly, this works up in about 40 minutes. It's not a bad pattern at all. I was very surprised by that. So I really do like this. I like the way his legs curl and he sits down flat. So I'm trying to make a smaller orange multicolor one just to get my spacing right. And then I'll attempt one in the expensive blanket yarn. I don't want to do one in the expensive blanket yarn until I get my spacing right. My collar looks horrible today. I feel better today. Y'all can see where my last flare, where my face swelled so bad that I actually kind of like hived out. So it's always interesting when my health decides to be a turd. So, but yeah, today we're focusing on the bobcat clutch. So this is the hide. I've just got it doubled. And I'm going to try to put this lining in it just to give it a more finished approach. Now, some people like to see the hide. They don't particularly care. Oh, I'm going to need a thimble, aren't I? Yeah. I'm going to need a thimble. Bart. Some people don't particularly care if you put a lining in a tanned hide or not. They are simply, they like the presence of the hide. Let me get my thimble. This is going to be bad without a thimble. If I can find my thimble. It was right here. There it is. My nails that I have on are not very conducive to thimbles right now. I have on my Halloween nails, and they're not very conducive to thimbles. So, I may end up having to pop them suckers off. But this leather is so much harder to sew through than the hide itself. Um, so I'm undertaking a lot more work. But there has been a lady asking David um, if he could do a little clutch. And so he got the bobcat tanned, and I'm going to give it a whirl. But he may have to finish doing some of the sewing because my hands are still really weak from this last flare I had. Oh, my day is going pretty decent. I felt better than I did yesterday, even though I look worse. My skin color is still not great. And my eyes are still really swollen, but I've just been trying to craft and do things I enjoy today, and just to let my body continue to kind of have a positive energy to heal on. Yeah, so David may have to do this. Let me see if I can sew the other first. And I could just run down to the farm and sew it on the Juki, Mom's industrial machine, which it honestly may be what I end up doing. But I honestly would really prefer to hand sew it. And just because I can really manipulate the stitches so much more if I hand sew it. So I can really get the edges really close. I can make it puff and pronounce the fur the way I want to. I just like it a lot better when I can hand sew it. But when you have my health issues and my neuromuscular issues, hand sewing sometimes is not plausible. Y'all, I'm 47 years old. I ain't got time for this freaking get on the internet and ask people stupid questions. Honestly. I'm a retired pro lobster. Don't ask me stupid questions like that. My funny bone died at age 24. I'm thinking about doing a purse charm out of some of the leg bones of the bobcat. Just because the people that like my native art normally like it when I go full throttle native art. So I'm thinking that I could probably get away with that with this specific project. I can't always get away with that, but I think in this specific project I could. I'm going to have to get my pliers, and this is going to be one of those really long sewing sessions where I break about 40,000 needles. Yeah. I have leather needles, which I probably will have to find, but when I sew it to this, I have to use a tiny needle because the holes are so small that a leather needle will not go through. And that's where sometimes I have to pre-punch all the holes with an awl, which is honestly what I may have to do as well. But you see how tiny those holes are up in there? They're super tiny. And so it doesn't leave a lot of room for a leather needle, obviously. So I will probably have to end up punching this with an awl and doing it. But I wanted to share what I am tearing into today. It took me a long time just to get the shape cut out because it was a freshly tanned hide. It was still a little bit belligerent in how it was coming together. So yeah, I'm going to have to go get my pliers and an awl, and this is going to take me forever. And honestly, I may just take it with me when I go back down to the farm and do it really quick. I really do prefer to hand sew if I have the ability, which I may not right now with my hands not being very strong after that flare I just went through. I may try to awl punch it and do it that way and see how far I get tonight. If I don't get very far, then I may end up going to the farm to sew it on the Juki and just spend some time down there and visit. And I imagine the way my health has been going, that most of the winter will probably be spent down the mountain. Um, because my health has not been going great. And if I stay in flare mode, then I'll have to be somewhere where people have eyes on me, because I don't want to, I got it through. I don't want to go into flare. And when I go into flare and if I happen to lose the use of both, legs and arms, then I basically become a baked potato. And it's not very nice to be alone during those times. And this last flare I had kind of made me worry that that may be the type of winter I'm looking at, which does not make me very happy. But it may very well be the type of winter I'm looking at. So I may be down there as much as I was last summer. Okay. And honestly, when people say, "Oh, how long do your fur crafts take?" Forever. They take a long time. They are not something that you just fly by night do. There's a lot of thinking, rethinking, starting, restarting, um, reconfiguring, second guessing, cussing. Um, there's just a whole lot of, because even though you can have a pattern, the fur, when it tans, each fur, because it's got skin, it's got you know the top of the dermal layer that's been tanned, very thin, but it's still there. It's got that on it. And so each animal's skin is slightly different when it's tanned. And so you really have to work with each hide specifically. So they all have issues. This one is very tough. And of course, I have the neck part where it's really thick, so I can get the most fur coverage on this. So that's one reason. But I need that fur coverage, because this is going to be an item that's going to be handled a lot. So it's going to need to have a lot of fur to put up with a lot of handling. And so that's going to make it tougher to sew and manipulate when you're trying to put it together. And that's just part of it. It's not very fun though when it slows you down like this, but that's okay. And so sometimes when I'm sewing, it can take multiple hours to sew each project. And then when people, send David a message on Etsy and they're like, "Well, I want to buy that, but I'm only going to pack it once. So could you cheapen it up for me?" And I'm like, "I don't care how many times you pack it. I can only sell it once. And if you want one cheap, then go get you some faux fur and make your own, because this is real fur that, took a week or more to be tanned. My husband had to trap the animal, then he had to tan the hide. And we've already got, probably a month into the critter by then, and then you have to do all this. And I can spend hours sewing and lining stuff up and getting just the right placement on literally each skin fold on the hide to make it lay just right. And then people want to, constantly ask you if you can come down on your price. And it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's going through a little bit easier now, but this is going to be a wrestling match between me and this fur, and that's okay. I'm used to it. And if it gets too tough, what I'll do is I'll just pass it off to David and say, pre-punch me some holes with the awl, so I can then go back and do this. But y'all, just threading the needle was literally like the Special Olympics here in my kitchen just a minute ago. So my eyes are not having a great day, but they're better than they were yesterday, but they're still not quite right. So it was interesting watching me try to thread this needle. Yeah, it was kind of a humbling experience, we'll just say that. I need my little ring thimble. I have 50,000, but they're in my leather kit. I didn't really want to have to go get it, but I guess I will. we're moving right along now. We're making some headway. And all it is I'm using this leather twine, and so it's very strong twine. And I just literally take it an eighth to a quarter of an inch at a time, and it can literally take some time. Hi Sherry, how you doing? So everybody comes in and they want to know what I'm up to. I'm trying to turn some of the bobcat hide into a little clutch purse. And so we're starting to put the hide together inside out. Then we'll flip it and retack anywhere on the leather we need to. I just came out of a neuromuscular disorder flare, and so my hands and my body are not quite with me yet, but I can't sit still for another day because I'm bored out of my mind. So I've done some crochet and started this. And I've got to go back down to the farm, and then I think Dad is going to come up here and help put in a ceiling fan when I come back up. Oliver, bless his heart, is not doing well. He's got Cushing's now, and of course he's almost 20 years old. He's 19. He'll be 20 next May. And that little Chihuahua, bless his heart, is blind, diabetic, and still kicking, but his Cushing's is beginning to kind of make his health plummet. And of course, I mean, you have to expect it. He's 19. So Mom is trying to handle some stuff with him, and I think I may have some stuff that will help her. So I probably need to try to go down there pretty soon and stay for a while and show her how to handle some of this health issue stuff on the other side of it to preemptively help the little guy, bless his heart. He's having a rough time right now. Ow. And yes, if somebody says, is it really that difficult to sew fur? Yeah. A tanned hide is very difficult. And like I said, I have a leather kit, but when I hook this to the purse mechanism, the clutch mechanism, I have to use a tiny needle to pull the hide up into it's got a little divot up there that it's got to go into, and it's got to go through those tiny little holes in there. So, it's just better to kind of go ahead and fight with it so that you have a baseline row of the thread holes that you can work with once you get there. So I normally just wrestle with it, but because my hands are still so weak from where I've been ill, I may have to have David break out the awl and punch some holes for me. I don't believe I even have the strength to do a very good job of that today, so that will become his job if I decide to do that. And it's mostly just that a tanned hide is very thin, but it still has multiple layers to it. And so your needle has a lot to get stuck on. So, and I normally break 6 or 7 every time I do one of these projects. So I go through needles like toilet paper. Well, thank you. I have some willow hoops drying for dream catchers. I brought my little tree. We used to use it as a stocking tree. We used it as a stocking tree for the kids for Christmas for years. Now I use it as like a dream catcher drying station and like an art holding station when I finish something that needs to be up and able to hang so it doesn't wrinkle or mess up. So I've been using that, and I brought it up here. It's eventually going to migrate to the craft room. I've been working on the craft room and the guest room. So I'm really hoping my grandbabies can come visit me soon. And but if they can't, I'll probably go back down there. It's very hard on me to travel to see my grandbabies, but man, I miss them and I want to see them again. I get to, video call them and send them stuff and But man, it's not like being right there with them. This grandma stuff will domesticate you. And I'm okay with that because them little boogers are just precious. And I kind of want the sides to have a little bit of a gathered stitch in there because I want them to have a little bit of a puff to them. I want the fur to have a little bit of a puff to it. Um, just because it's going to have an inside lining most likely. So I want it to have a little bit of a full body appearance. So it, it won't be just like flat. It'll look kind of puffy whether somebody has something in it or not. It will appear full. And that will make the fur appear prettier as well. So I'm kind of trying to be very picky where I put my stitches in this hide. But yeah, people wonder how long these projects take, and they take hours, sometimes days, and sometimes weeks. If you really count the trapping of the animal, the tanning, the preparation, and then the tanning of the hide, and the drying of the hide, the tanning of the hide, and then you take into account my work, there are sometimes months into the preparation of one piece of art. And it's frustrating sometimes, but I enjoy doing it. And I craft to stay sane since I had to retire early due to my health because I was used to working like 90 hours a week. And so this is what I do to stay sane. And my husband, he still buys me craft stuff because he knows I have to stay sane. And this is my way of saying thank you. You may have this to put in your Etsy store. Please continue to buy my craft stuff. That's the working arrangement we have. So his Etsy store, if anybody wants to visit it, is Hillbilly Heart Decor. And he really doesn't put a lot on there until after the festival season. He has one more festival. So he should start putting stuff on there in the next month. And then through February and March, and it'll stay on there. And then, the 1st of April, he'll start making some removals from it to prep for next year's market season. Because the first market happens normally at the end of April. So that's normally his Etsy schedule. And me and my hands are not having a good day today, y'all. Oh, that's a much better piece on this fur. Hang on, that's much better. So yeah, this is the struggle. So if anybody wants to know, is it glamorous making fur items? No. It's frustrating. It's irritating. The end result is beautiful, and I always love that, and I always feel accomplished, and I always feel like I've tapped into part of my heritage. But the process of doing this is frustrating most of the time. So, but I have found in life that most things that are easy are not rewarding. So, and I only had so much fur because if you remember, that hurt. If you remember, I used the majority of this bobcat fur on the dream catcher for one of the people that used to be on my caseload way back in the day when I was a parole officer. He's out and doing well now, and he asked me to make him a dream catcher, and I did. And I used some of this bobcat fur on that. So I had a limited amount of really usable fur, and I needed the thick piece for this. So that means if you want the really thick hair, you have to deal with the scruff of the neck, which is the really thickest part of the tanned skin, And so you end up not enjoying the sewing process very much at all. But that's okay. And literally after every stitch, I will go back and do this to make sure I'm going in the right direction, to make sure that I'm gathering it and it's balanced and going to be puffy on both sides. After I sew, sometimes I'll go back after I turn it inside out, then I'll turn it back and I'll go back and trim more around the seam. It just depends on each hide and its personality, basically, how it is taking the seam, how it's reacting to being stitched and sewed. Because these are very finicky little projects that I do. I made a huge casserole last night, so I didn't have to cook tonight. Smart move. But yeah, I think I crocheted this morning trying to wake my hands up a little bit more. Um, and I even struggled like on this pattern's tentacles. I struggled on those because of my hands, but seems like they're trying to wake up a little bit tonight. Maybe tomorrow they'll be even better. I have had some issues with the spot that flared, and so I've put something on it. Because when I put something on it and cover all those nerve endings, it kind of makes them all not quite understand what's going on, so that they kind of shut down instead of overreact. Anything I had touched with that part of my arm since they did that blood draw at the doctor's office had gone crazy. So I cut a sock up and put this on my arm so that it puts a little bit of pressure and kind of makes the nerve endings busy so that they can't overreact to just one point. And I've learned little tricks like that through, all these years with this stupid disorder. And that is one thing that seems to work is when they get really hyper finicky, sometimes if you overwhelm them, they will just kind of shut down. And so that's why I've got this on my arm today. It was a last minute decision because I could not find the ace bandage. Yeah, it was a lot of work. And I could go down to Mom's industrial machine and zip right through it. I just like the appearance of the hand sew because I can be more particular with each stitch and manipulate the hide more and make it have more of a specific look. And so I just prefer to hand stitch. And most people understand also that a hand stitch is just a more, I think it's a more heartfelt art project. I think it's, you've got more of yourself into it, more of your soul into it. And I think people appreciate that a little bit more too. My dream catchers take a long time too because, we have to harvest the willow. I have to bend it. It has to dry. That can take, a couple of weeks or 3. And, then I have to weave them, and then I have to make sure I have the bones, the antlers, the fur to decorate them, and all that comes from David's trapped and harvested animals. And we don't, he only traps one farm basically. And, he's not, he is not one of those trappers that goes out to eradicate. He goes out to find balance on the land. And so he doesn't, he's not out to harvest. And so we have just, a minimal number of things to work with. We do some bartering with some other trappers in some other areas of the U.S., for furs and stuff that we can't get in our region. And they're really sweet. And we enjoy doing that. But, we worked with a limited number of furs each year because, we just don't make it a huge process. Every once in a while, if he has a really slow trapping season, he'll go out and buy his fur buyer's license so he can go to fur sales and buy fur. But that fur buyer's license is like a couple $300, and so you don't want to buy it unless you have to. So that's not something we really want to do, and we really like it. When the stuff that we make is from the hides that from the animals he's trapped. That we've taken him through the entire spectrum of the piece of art. And it's kind of what he's known for. So if you get something from him, it's something he has trapped and something he has done himself. He's like a one-man show. And he still works full-time. I don't know how he does it. I don't know. But that is why when my health wanes or I don't feel well, that's why I go down to the cattle farm and stay with Mom and Dad, because he is just the hours he works. And sometimes when my health gets really bad, it stresses him out a lot. And I don't like to do that to him because he just doesn't handle some of my more serious health issues very well. And I can go down to the farm and have somebody with me 24/7 so that if I go into a very bad flare, I'm not alone. And it doesn't seem to stress my mom out as much as it stresses my husband out. You know, they seem to take it in stride. And I've not had as many bad flares, but the flares I have had the last couple of years have been pretty dramatic. Um, so there's never been really a pattern to my health. It just kind of dictates my life, and I just am along for the ride. Okay, and we're just barely slowly making progress. And as you can see, I'm gathering this side, and I'm not really gathering this side. And that's because this side is a little thinner, so it's going to give more when it's finished. And so I need to pull it and gather it just a little bit, so as it gives, it still won't stretch out further than this side. So you have to think about things like that, about how the hide's going to age, wear. My dog's fixing to throw a fit because I put her up for a nap, and she's like, I want to be up for a nap. She has been a little stinker today. We'll just say that. I think she knows I'm feeling better, so she's feeling much better. She's trying the rules today. She's we don't know if we got her, and if we have to keep her forever, that's fine. But we got her because she was in bad health, and we were afraid that with her health so bad that if the people in the agency couldn't find a place to put her, that she would be put down. And she was having seizures. She's epileptic. And so we've got her health, pretty much straightened out to where she only has a seizure about every 2 or 3 months now. And so she could totally have, a much more active family now if somebody wanted to give her a try. But if nobody ever comes around asking about her, we'll just hang on to her because we're quite attached to her. But when she has these days where she's just full of energy, I'm like, man, I wish she had some kids to play with. I just wish she had a house full of youngins to play with. So, but yeah, this is how slow what I do truly is. So, and if I don't sit here and wrestle with the needle, then I still have to wrestle with an awl and punch holes and work with pliers and leather needles and stuff like that. So it's time consuming no matter what. But I still have to use a small needle to attach it to the clutch mechanism, and it has to go into that rim. So, I'm going to be wrestling with it regardless. So you kind of put the same amount of time into it, no matter, which fight you choose to fight. So David's trapping season will start again. There's some animals you can trap year round, but he predominantly traps for the fur, so he traps mostly in the winter. And some of the stuff he traps does have particular seasons. Got an excellent catch on a trail cam, and I put it in the post section if y'all want to go check that out. It's 2 bears fighting. That was such a rare catch. I thought that was really neat. But he traps for fur, so he is predominantly a winter trapper, and goes by the certain seasons for the animals. And so all winter he leaves the house at daylight to run his trap line, and then he'll go to work. And if he catches anything, he'll either put it in the freezer or in the fridge cooler to handle when he gets back from work. Or if he gets home quick enough, he can go ahead and skin it real quick and just put the hide up, and then he can flesh it at a later date and prep it for tanning at a later date. But he does all this around a full-time job, and pretty much right now, between me and my mother and my father, we kind of go with each other to all our doctor's appointments because they're all specialists and a long ways away from where we live. So I don't have to interrupt my husband's work schedule. And like I said, he doesn't always deal with my health stuff the best. So me and mom and dad just we all tag team each other's doctor's appointments. And it's something that I need to kind of keep a watch on too, because, my brother lives a long ways away. So it'll be me with them, as they age. So I need to be, hyper aware of what's going on anyway. So it's a good thing for me to start to learn. But I just don't like to, he works and does so much. I don't like to annoy him by making him take paid time off for my health appointments, which are very boring. Because of this disorder I have, it's very rare. Most of the time the doctors just go, well, we don't really know what's going on. We're learning with you. And I'm like, well, that's great. You're billing me to learn. Thank you. But that's just what it is. It's been my last 20 years. So, and this is probably going to be a 4 to 5 hour sewing, if not more, because I have to do this layer. I have to do the lining. If I follow through the lining, I have to do the lining. And then I have to attach both inside the rim of the clutch mechanism. And so it's a long process, multi-hours. It's not always the most enjoyable thing. I do always feel accomplished after I've made something. And if I'm doing like a super straight seam, or I'm doing something that I don't have a lot of creativity in, sometimes I don't mind to go down and use mom's industrial machine and just zip it. But lots of times I'm doing a lot of on the fly making decisions with these projects. So I like to hand sew and not sit at a machine and go, oh God, did I sew that too fast before I made the right decision? Because then you have to seam rip everything out. That's a pain in the butt. So I normally have more success hand sewing and going slow because I have time to process and think if I want to change my plan of attack. I can do it before, zipping through a very quick seam and going, oh crap, now I got to take that out. Because I don't enjoy that. So I'll be working on this for probably days because of my hands and my health. But I think it will be very pretty when I get it done. And I may go back after I've done this and trim the seam. I may go back with a leather glue and just reinforce the seam, because this is going to be a bag that's going to be handled and carried and used. And so I may just go back and use some leather glue, leather cement, and just reinforce the seam. Just a little added oomph. We're getting there. We're getting there. Now I've got it gathered. Now I can just straight sew because we've got it even. And of course, we have to flip it when I get done sewing. So it's not always the easiest to flip. This one shouldn't be bad. It's just a little bit thicker because it's the scruff of the bobcat's neck. But it shouldn't be bad to flip. I'm going to be doing a mantle with a coyote pelt very soon. I'm going to try to video as much of that process as possible. And I'm making it because David is going to a Viking Renaissance thing next April as a vendor. And we know some people that go to it. And we've been, for the last couple of years, seeing our friends at markets and stuff, and I get to see them when I'm able to go. And one of them loves Renaissance fairs. He wears kilts. He's a blacksmith. He has a blacksmith forge that he goes around and um, helps people forge their own um, he's got several options, that he can help you forge, and that's his business. And we've become quite good friends with him. And I have always wanted, like, everything he always wears or his wife wears. I'm like, man, I would love to make one of those. Man, I'd love to make one of those. So my first attempt is going to be with some like mid level um, items. Like, I've got a shoulder, I don't know what you call them. It wraps around. I'm going to use that as the base. I'm going to take this apart and I'm going to put fur in between each scale. And then I'm going to attach the fur to the wraparound part with a locking mechanism on the chest that's really pretty. And then I'm going to add some dangles and some bones and, make it look extra Viking. That is one thing that Dave was like, I really like to see if we could, put our heads together and come up with this. So he's got me a coyote fur, and we sat down and looked at some stuff and ordered like the mid-grade option because it's going to be my first real one. So I don't want to put a ton of money into it till I know what I'm going to make. So, but obviously, it'd have a good price for whoever wants to purchase it because, it'd be my first one and it'll be mid-grade. So they'll get a little bit, cheaper. And then what I hope to do is to make my own patterns and go back to the Amish leather store and be able to even talk to him maybe about cutting the pattern pieces so I don't have to buy the leather and then cut them myself. Maybe if I can give him the pattern and he'll just bundle me a bunch of the pattern pieces and buy them straight from the Amish leather shop because I love his work. We could probably work something out because he's got all the pressers and the bandsaws and all that easy cutting stuff. That would probably be the thing to do. And then when I'm doing all that, making getting all the pieces and sewing all together, making my own from scratch stuff, it David would be able to charge more for them, but I won't be able to make many just because my health and doctor visits and fur availability and all that. But it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. Now, come on and work. It got tied up in the hair. There we go. My fingers are getting so tired. Probably should have just crocheted today. That probably would have been a better option. So I've been looking at options to do things with cow vertebrae. I've got some cow vertebrae, and I'm looking at some stuff to do with them. Some just artistic, creative ways to use those. I've got a new run of some coyote leg bones and foot bones, and so I'm going to be doing some when my hands get a little bit stronger after in a few more days. I'm going to do some drilling into some bones and try to do some smaller necklaces with bone links and some smaller bone earrings. And because David is going to go to the Grinch Festival, the Grinchmas, again this year, so he's got one more market. And I do like to send him with, options for other people rather than, just fur. But it's also, I like to make it. Now we're moving. I said that, and now we're going to have a really stubborn one for the next one, which is I'm amazed I've not broken the needle yet. So I've about got this one side done. I'm running into, it's pulling these little small hairs through with the thread, so I have to be careful. So this is where we're getting on this side. I've got the gathers. Don't have to gather anymore. Have to do this side, have to flip, have to do the lining and flip. This is going to be the lining and flip. And then we'll have to sew it into these tiny little holes on this little thing right here. And it goes up in that rim. And it disguises the edging really well. It goes up in that rim. But this is just a tedious process. So I thought I'd pop on and show you what I've been up to. I'm hoping my eyes are even more better tomorrow so that we can. I tried to read a little bit in the book so we could do the next chapter, but I just could not. It was just all fuzzing into one big blurb. It was just like I would see the sentence but not be able to make out all the words. And so I'm hoping that tomorrow my eyes have a little bit more good time in the morning, and I'm going to try to do that one more time. It's not the longest chapter, so I just need to be able to read my notes, but all the sentences are still blurbing together and just turning into one big written blur. But maybe tomorrow I'll be able to read again. And of course, there's tables and stuff in the books now that I'm like referring to in my notes that I have to go back and flip to in the book and give you all information about. So it's I have to be able to see to do all this. And crochet, I can crochet basically by feel. I can feel my stitches and rarely use my eyes. I will say the most frustrating thing I did today was thread this stupid needle. Hi, bobcats. So it took me a good few minutes just to thread this needle. It was not pleasant. So I'm just going to take it at this point. So I maybe have one or two more stitches if I want to reinforce the end. Then I'll go to the other side and then I'll turn it. Then I'll probably turn it back out, trim the same. I may reinforce it in a few more spots. And then I may go ahead and use a leather glue and let it sit all night if I get it done. If I don't get it done, I'll do it tomorrow night. So it's just a process when you're making, it's just a process to make this stuff. I'm in the toughest part of this bobcat's hide. It is the scruff of his neck. And it is tough. It's good for the purse. It's horrible for my hands. I thought I'd pop on bobcats and show you what I've been up to today. I did crochet a lot. I've been doing little octopuses. Wasn't it cute? But I've been putting this off and putting this off. And I thought, well, I'm going to start. And then if it's too bad, maybe I can talk David into punching the holes in the leather tonight for him. But I think this is, look at my finger. I've got an indent from the needle. Ow. I think this is just going to be one of those that I work at for days up to a week or so. It's just going to take a while. It's going to be a slow one. But that's okay. That's okay. And I put my Halloween nails on thinking I'd feel better. I should not have put my Halloween nails on because they're not conducive to this craft that I chose at all. Did I think about that? No. No, I did not. I should have. And I'm using leather twine, leather sewing twine, so that also does not help. That, I mean, it's really great because it doesn't break easily, and it's very forgiving when it's on a project like a purse or a bag. But man, is it a pain in the butt to work with on the fur while you're sewing. It's just not pleasant. I'm trying to get right in this little corner to reinforce the seam line, and buddy, it does not want to go. But yeah, so when people sometimes ask us to, like I'll be with David sometimes and people say, well, that's pretty, but I don't want to pay that. And I normally, I'm not there, so David handles it. But I have looked at people and been like, okay, well, if you don't want to pay this price, then you can go and get your hunting and trapping license. You can buy your traps. You can learn how to trap. You can stalk an animal all winter. You can maybe get one or two. And then you can learn how to gut and cape out and flesh an animal, salt, dry, stretch, then chemically tan or brain tan. Uh, and then learn how to do all this leather work. Go right ahead, please. But our society is a society of easy things now, so they don't understand um, anything that takes time anymore. They think everything is just easy to accomplish now. It's easy, but there are still people that do these the old ways. I have to pull the hair back because I'm getting the hair in with the needle and it's causing it to jam. There we go. Okay, that's one side on the first run through. It will not be the final run through. I will put many more stitches in this before it is done. Let's see if I can finish it off for a second. My eyes, man. Wish my glasses were. I wish my muscles in my eyes worked correctly so I could use my glasses. Okay, so that is one side. I'm going to put my needle in there. So that was just one side, the first go round of stitches. So obviously I'll do the other side and then we'll flip it. And like I said, I use the scruff of the bobcat's neck, so it'd be the strongest part because this is going to be a purse that's carried. It has the thickest hair and it's like the strongest part on the bobcat. So see, it's going to have that little you can't see it right there. It's going to have a little whoop right there. And that's what I've got to match on the other side. That's why I want, and I'm trying to mimic because the handle itself has got a little, so I want it to come down and mimic that. And that's why I'm doing that. And you just have to go real slow. And of course I'll have to brush all this out again and tame the hair and the frazzles again. So that's the first go around. Now we got to tame this side, turn it back and tame this side. But it's gathering nice and it's looking nice for the first run of stitches, but we're going to need at least 2 runs in each side. And that's just for security and to minimize gapping when it's in use. So this is something that's going to take me a while. And so, like I said, this one's got a little bubble right here where it had a thick spot between its neck and leg. So when I stitch this, I will have to pull that almost like you're pulling to put elastic in a gathered area, stretch it out, and stitch, and make sure that when I gather, I'm gathering and the hide's not gathering itself. And that way I can make it match this one and keep, the correct tension like on the other side. So that's what I'm working on. This is going to be something I'm working on for the foreseeable future. And I hope I get it done faster than I think I'm going to get it done, but we'll just have to wait and see because mine's still going kind of slow from this flare that I just got out of. So I just wanted to pop on and say I'm still going. I'm still feeling okay. Still improving. My eyes are almost usable for reading, not quite, but almost. And I cooked a big casserole last night so I can just rest this evening. And on a good note, I've not had to take any heart medication today. During the flare, I did. I've not had to take it today. So we're doing much better. But I am staying close to the ER right now because of that. But I do feel much better. So, that's positive. That's positive. And I did enjoy making this little guy today. And I've got an orange one, a multicolor orange one in the makes. And I'm just doing them with this tinier yarn to kind of get the feel of them. And, before I use my expensive blanket yarn. And I really think these are cute. I did not get my spacing correctly on his tentacles. So that's why I'm doing another small one to see exactly where I went wrong on the tentacles. But I just wanted to make some of these because I want to make a big blanket one for my grandson and granddaughter and the twins and send to them. And so I'm trying to figure out where I got my spacing wrong because I followed the pattern. It was a very easily well-written pattern. And I'm like, where did I lose these 2 stitches? So that's what I'm trying to find where I lost these 2 stitches because I don't know where I lost them. And I've got it screenshotted and zoomed in on my iPad so I can see. So I know I didn't read it wrong. It's correct. I just don't know where I put those 2 stitches, but we'll find them. We'll find them. But I'm halfway through the other one. It works up really quick. That's probably one of the quickest patterns I've ever used, to be quite honest. So that's about all I've done today other than a little bit of laundry. I did scrub the tub. Kudos to me. I scrubbed the tub and did dishes and did a little laundry. I'm trying to catch, the domestic stuff. And it's something that wherever I am, it seems like I'm always trying to catch the domestic stuff. But I did accomplish some stuff today. So I think tomorrow I'll have an even more normal day. And I'm hoping that my eyes, which they still look really bad, I know, but they're much better. But I'm hoping my eyes will be a little bit happier tomorrow and let me read a little bit more. So it's frustrating because I don't write small, but I do use some shorthand. And so when my eyes don't work, I do question what did I write. So it does mess me up when I can't see that well. But we'll get there. It's okay. We'll get there. And Sabrina yesterday talked about in the near future trying to get me in on one of the little online sessions with her. And I'm okay with, I don't mind to do that. We'll do it. But I really think, it's probably best to just for people to listen to her and the others. But I've heard people say it would be so nice to see you all together in one spot and kind of have all the family together. So she's going to work on that and see where she thinks I would blend in the best at. So that will be happening soon. I'm hoping that I feel, much better for that. But if you haven't seen it, she did on Rumble an interview with Just Mom's Chat. And what wasn't really an interview, it was just a Chew the Fat session. It was a really good one. Just two moms talking, two moms just talking. It's Dawn and Jill. It's on Rumble. And then, of course, she does normally Tuesday nights with Demand of Boomasan on YouTube and Rumble. He streams it to both places. So if you haven't caught those, go check those. And, of course, if you're not familiar with her work, you can go to Odyssey and look up Synergy, Psinergy, and go and look at, it's her whole library of work, basically. And underneath all the videos are all the resources that she used. So you can see all the information, all the pages and scientific studies and government websites where she pulled all the information. So you can actually go and research her research if you want to, which is great. Everybody should learn how to really research in depth right now. It's a very necessary skill to have in this world we're in. And of course, if you want to get to know my husband, he has the Trapper Dave Waters channel. He sometimes puts stuff here too. In the winter, this is his predominant share, but he has one channel that's just only trapping that I don't hijack when I feel like it. but you can go over to Trapper Dave Waters. And if you want to support his Etsy store, you can go to Hillbilly Heart Decor. And so it's etsy.com/shop/Hillbilly Heart Decor, all one word. And he normally, it's got a few things on there. I don't know exactly what he's got on there right now, but he loads everything after the bulk of the festival. So over the next month to 6 weeks, he'll be putting a bunch more stuff on there because he will be, he's only got one more market the first weekend in December, I think. So he'll start putting more stuff on there. And as I craft, I normally throw stuff back to him that, just to say thank you for, because he keeps my crafting habit going. Well, thank you, Sherry. I appreciate everybody coming in and seeing what I'm up to tonight. I'm just trying to get back in the swing of spending a few minutes each day with yins, building up my energy and my strength again, and starting to get back in the creative vibe. It's because I was out of the loop with my health this last time, a long time. So I'm trying to take it gradual and slow. So tomorrow I'm hoping we can do the book with my eyes. I'm hoping they work better. We'll see what we get into. And we might possibly have my dad here and see him put up a ceiling fan. So that will be interesting. Somebody's trying to call me. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to let Luna potty, and then I'm going to transition into something a little bit more calming for the rest of the night. And we'll revisit this in the next couple of days as my hands heal. And I will probably see you tomorrow. So catch you later. Thanks for joining me. Bye, guys.